Developing right now on Morning News Now, flooding and fire, a double dose of extreme weather on this first full day of summer. From a new round of severe storms slamming the East Coast to more oppressive heat all over the country. We're tracking the conditions, the dangers, and what you can expect as we head into the weekend. Also this morning, a new chapter in Donald Trump's classified documents case. Today, a Florida judge set to hear arguments over whether to dismiss charges against the former president. We're going to break down both sides and what it could mean not just for the trial, but also the November election. Plus, a free speech fight between TikTok and the U.S. government. The new court filings filed by the social media giant just months from a possible ban on the app. And remembering a Hollywood legend. This morning, tributes pouring in for actor Donald Southernland. We're going to look back at his life and prolific decades-long career. Good morning. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is on assignment. Good to have you with us on this Friday. We start with the latest on that record-breaking extreme weather that is ravaging the U.S. from coast to coast. More than 92 million Americans are under heat alerts with triple-digit heat indices as far north as Maine, where one town had to issue an excessive heat warning this week for the first time ever. Out west, crews in 9 states are fighting several active wildfires. One of the worst is in New Mexico, where at least 2 people have died. President Biden has issued a disaster declaration for southern parts of the state. Officials there say that heavy rain and flash flooding are making it even harder to contain the flames. All of this unfolding as we are watching 2 potential tropical disturbances in the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico. Our team is tracking all this weather. NBC News meteorologist Michelle Grossman is standing by with our weekend forecast. But we start with NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin, who's on the ground in Watauga, New York.
Hey there, millions of Americans are waking up once again to scorching temps. Folks heading out to beaches such as this one to try and beat the heat. Tens of millions of Americans waking up this morning from coast to coast under heat alerts. We're expecting more sizzling temperatures in the Midwest and the Mid-Atlantic. We're also seeing those wildfires out in New Mexico, killing at least 2, devastating communities, flooding continuing out in Texas, despite the fact that Tropical Storm Alberto is long gone. And get this, so far this year, there have been more than 12,000 record highs recorded at weather stations across the country, and this is showing no signs of slowing down, even though the summer has just begun. They're predicting for the month of July above average temps for the entire country. This is looking like it's going to be a summer of extremes. Back to you.
All right, Aaron, thank you so much. So let's talk more about what we can expect this weekend and beyond. Time for your Morning News Now weather. Meteorologist Michelle Grossman is here with the forecast. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. And we're going to continue to bake today and through the weekend. D.C. could be in the triple digits by this weekend, feeling much warmer than that. So as mentioned earlier, 92 million people across the country under heat alerts. That includes the West now. In the East, we're looking at 64 million. That includes the Great Lakes into the Ohio Valley, the Northeast, and then expanding into the Mid-Atlantic as we go throughout the weekend here. Major cities like Columbus, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Hartford, New York City under heat alerts. We do have a heat warning for Pittsburgh, also Fort Wayne. A heat watch for Philadelphia and also D.C. Wait till you see these numbers in D.C. this weekend. You're going to want to find some indoor activities. So we're sweltering still. We're looking at temperatures well into the 90s, record-breaking territory, not only daytime highs, but nighttime lows, and also most likely monthly records as well. We're looking at temperatures in the 90s today. Nashville, we're looking at 96. You factor in that humidity. That's a really important number. That's what our body perceives as a temperature. So it's going to respond to that. It will feel like 99 in Nashville, feeling like 96 in St. Louis. 102 is what it's going to feel like in St. Louis. And then as we head further to the Mid-Atlantic, D.C., 97 will be the heat index in New York City on this Friday. Kicking off the weekend, we're looking at 96 degrees as a heat index. The air temperature right around 93 degrees. Another hot one today. You want to find those cooling centers, hydrate, all the tips we've been giving all week long. And again, this really adds up as the days go on. So we're not getting that relief at night either. The heat does continue tomorrow. Take a look at Baltimore, 98 degrees, feeling more like 105, feeling like 103 in Richmond. You get the idea. A lot of spots will be feeling like the triple digits, even air temperatures near the triple digits in Nashville, 97, 95 in Lexington. It's going to be another warm one in Chicago, temperatures near the mid 90s, 93 and 95 in Toledo. Then as we go throughout the rest of the weekend into early early next week, we trend a little cooler, but that word cooler, I mean, we're still in the upper 80s, low 90s in many spots, but D.C. by Sunday could hit 100 degrees again. We're forecasting 99, but still in the mid-90s Monday and Tuesday. Those are the air temperatures, not with the heat index involved. Chicago, we're into the 80s on Sunday and Monday, so it's a little bit better. Same story in Buffalo. Nice change there because we have a front that's kind of lingering right there into New England, so a big reprieve for them. They were so warm, especially in Bangor, Maine. The past couple of days are getting a break today with temperatures in the 80s. Buffalo by Monday, 78 degrees. Unfortunately, that cold front doesn't sink enough south, and we're looking at really hot temperatures in the mid-Atlantic and also the Northeast. I have some more bad news for you. We're looking at July outlook, and it's looking hotter than average. So most likely June is going to end up very hot, above average, breaking records. And we're going to see that once again into July in portions of New England, the Northeast, the Ohio Valley, Midwest, into the Southeast. Hotter than average in the Southwest, the inner mountains as well. The Rockies, we're looking at at least the forecasted outlook for July, looking a little warmer than normal. So for today, that's going to be the big weather story once again. Also looking at lots of spots where we're looking at some moisture, some showers, some storms. Some could be on the severe side. So for today, we'll start in the northern plains, the upper Mississippi Valley, because we're looking at the chance for flooding rains. We're seeing that at this hour. I'll show you that in just a minute. We have a front that's draped right there. It's bringing those rains that are dropping 3 inches per hour. A lot of humidity in the air. A flood threat throughout portions of the Southwest. That's all due to a tropical disturbance. Same story in southern Texas. Not getting a break there. We're not expecting a whole lot of rain, but we had a whole lot of rain a couple days ago, and we're looking at additional rain with that Gulf disturbance. And then we have a disturbance in the Atlantic as well, and that's going to bring some tropical showers along the Carolina coast into portions of Florida. We'll see if those develop into any names or even further than where they are right now. But nonetheless, we're looking at some rain falling. Flood alerts right now, we're looking throughout portions of the upper Midwest, the plains as well. We do have some flash flood warnings. That means flooding is happening right now. So Ely into Chamberlain, Sioux Falls, you're seeing some really tough conditions right now. So be careful as you head out this morning. And again, these alerts same place through Saturday because that front kind of parks itself there. This is why we're looking at radar. We're looking at some rain in portions of the Southwest, also the Four Corners, looking towards the northern plains into the upper Midwest. We're looking at some lightning there as well. We do have a severe thunderstorm risk from the northern plains into the upper Midwest, the upper Mississippi Valley, 6 million people at risk. So, Joe, we're looking at that and then also looking at those tropical disturbances in the tropics. That could bring some moisture to Florida and also Texas.
All right, it's either rain or heat. Take your pick. Michelle, thank you so much. As his legal battles continue, former President Trump is turning his attention to Florida. That's where the classified documents case against him continues to be stalled thanks to a series of ongoing motions and hearings over legal issues. Now, in the latest attempt by Trump's legal team to get the case thrown out, they're arguing that special counsel Jack Smith's appointment to run the investigation violates the Constitution. We have NBC News senior national politics reporter John Allen joining us for a closer look at all this, along with NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos. Danny, let's start with you. So Trump pleaded not guilty to these charges just over a year ago. It's no surprise he has been trying to delay all these legal proceedings as much as possible. But some of these issues that are coming up in this specific case, does it seem like they could have been disposed of much more quickly without day-long hearings?
Yes, and that is a fair criticism of the judge, that she's holding hearings on issues that another judge might have decided by simply a stroke of the pen in a matter of days, maybe even weeks. But that is the beauty of the Constitution. Federal judges are appointed for life, and they're given almost complete discretion as to how to manage their calendar and how to decide on things like motions and other issues before them, including whether or not to hold evidentiary hearings or not hold evidentiary hearings. Or, one of the things I think is a fair criticism, to have your lower magistrate judge help out. Aileen Cannon has not used her magistrate very much. I think that's a fair criticism as well. But that's the system we live in. We have district judges who have tremendous authority. It's fair to criticize one for moving slowly. Attorneys do it all the time. So that's what you may have here. Is it intentional by the defense? Well, their primary mission is to get the case thrown out, like every other defendant in the world. Is there a secondary benefit by delaying the case? Absolutely, because if it's delayed past the election, and specifically past inauguration, all federal cases against Trump, poof, go into the ether.
How unusual is it that we don't even have a trial date yet?
It is very unusual in federal court, but this is not the usual case. If this were a guns and drugs case, I'd say, yeah, this should be going to trial within 2 to 3 months. There should be a trial date set, and then if it's changed, you can reset that trial date, move it out 2 or 3 months, whatever the case may be. But this is a different case. So, too, is the January 6th case. They're all different. So you can't hold them to the ordinary timeline. Is Judge Cannon's approach causing delay? Is her refusal to set a trial date something that can be criticized? Absolutely. Would another federal judge set a trial date and then just move it as needed? That's what I think is the more common practice. But again, that is the discretion the Constitution and our system gives federal district court judges.
John, let's bring you in here. It is looking very unlikely this case will make it to court ahead of the November elections. Does it matter to voters, especially following the New York hush money trial? Do they seem to be paying attention to these criminal cases, and is it influencing them at all?
Well, I think certainly some of them are paying attention to the criminal cases, and it may influence some of them. This one is a federal case about the handling of classified documents, which is something that is very close to, very much a part of what a president of the United States does. It's also probably the one, Danny's the legal expert, but, from many of the lawyers I've spoken to, they think this is actually the most straightforward case in terms of Donald Trump had these documents, then refused to give them back. He's claiming that they effectively belong to him. But there's a lot of evidence that he both retained the documents and didn't give them back. So, I think the first point you made is probably the right one, Joe, which is it seems very unlikely that any of this is going to be resolved, at least in terms of the classified documents case, before the election. And to Danny's point, then if Trump wins, all the cases go into the ether. If Trump loses, then perhaps this is something that goes forward.
So, Danny, let's talk about a past case. Trump now filing another motion in New York. His legal team calling on Judge Engoron in the civil fraud case to recuse himself. This sounds strange to people because it already happened. All that's really left are the inevitable appeals. So what's going on here? What do they want?
This is a fascinating motion. The allegations are basically that while in the courthouse hallways, an attorney unconnected to the case, completely having nothing to do with any cases involving Trump, approached the judge and said effectively, hey, Judge, I want to make sure you get the law right in this Trump case. Now, one of two things could have happened. Either the judge said, thank you, but I got to go, which is probably what he should have done if this happened. And that might be what happened. But the attorney's also saying that they had something of a prolonged discussion about it, the facts, the issues, maybe they're in the hallway. If that happened, that is a cause for concern. But there's also a very strong likelihood, this happens to judges all the time, busybody attorneys come up with their opinions in the hallways, and he may have just said, yeah, thanks, got to go to lunch.
Of course, Trump assessed a $454 million penalty in that case. All right, John, while we have you, less than a week away from the first presidential debate, real quick, how are the candidates getting ready?
They're doing it a little bit differently, which is not terribly surprising because they've run against each other before and done things differently, and candidates tend to keep things the same. President Biden is going to be in Camp David for most of next week. He's going to surround himself with some of his top aides and perhaps even do full mock debates. Basically, you're going to see around him Anita Dunn, one of his top advisors, Mike Donilon, Steve Ricchetti, former Congressman Cedric Richmond, who was co-chairman of his last campaign, is probably going to be there as well. But they're going to do a pretty formal debate structure. Trump, on the other hand, hates the idea of full mock debates. He doesn't. One of the things he doesn't like to do is preview his actual arguments. I think he believes that, according to people I've spoken to, have been in prep with him before, he really wants to make sure that when he says something on stage, it's the first time he said it. So these are going to be a little different, but he does sort of informal discussions with his aides, on the plane or when he's at his resort.
Very different approaches. A lot to cover. No one better to help us through than John Allen and Danny Savalos. Thank you both. Now, while the president prepares for next week's debate, his administration's disagreement with Israel over weapons continues to make headlines. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the U.S. has been withholding deliveries of weapons from Israel. The White House responded saying, quote, we genuinely do not know what he is talking about. This is just adding more tension to a relationship that was already getting strained. NBC News White House correspondent Aaron Gilchrist joins us with the latest. So, Aaron, how has this new tension impacted the U.S.-Israel relationship and Israeli efforts to fight the war and get hostages out of Gaza?
Yeah, this back and forth, Joe, really does represent sort of a widening of this tension that we've been seeing, particularly for the last couple of months between Israel and the United States. We know that there had been a high-level meeting planned with a delegation coming from Israel to Washington to meet here in D.C. And once the Israeli prime minister posted that video on Tuesday criticizing the Biden administration for slowing this delivery of weapons and ammunition, as the prime minister said, that meeting was postponed, according to officials here in D.C. It wasn't canceled, as some reports had suggested. It was postponed. And then we still saw just yesterday both Secretary of State Tony Blinken and the National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan held separate meetings with two high-ranking Israeli officials who they've been meeting with regularly to talk about, we learned from the readout from Secretary Blinken's meeting, to talk about the ceasefire negotiations, to talk about getting hostages out of Gaza, to talk about surging humanitarian aid into the Palestinian people. And so even though there seem to be all these reports and these nuggets dropped in social media and other places that there's this tension that's creating an inability to get things done, we then turn around and still have these meetings happening as they have been over the last several months, Joe.
So, Aaron, remind us, when it comes to these weapons, why is this one shipment being held, and have any of the concerns been addressed by either party?
So we're talking about these 2,000-pound bombs. The Biden administration, through Secretary Blinken and others, have said that the normal flow of weapons is still happening, with the exception of these, I think it was about 3,500 of these massive bombs that the administration decided back in May to pause, to put a hold on. And the secretary reaffirmed earlier this week that the U.S. is reviewing the use of such munitions because there were concerns about those bombs being used in Gaza in places where there were dense groups of civilians who might be harmed by these large bombs that are not as accurate and not as precise as some other smaller munitions might be, Joe.
All right, Aaron Gilchrist. Aaron, thank you so much. Now to a different kind of battle, the digital battle in the race for the White House. The Biden campaign is now denouncing what it calls cheap fakes. Well, the Trump team has its own gripes. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez takes us through this new age battlefield.
The video went viral faster than usual. President Biden at the G7 summit in Italy, surrounded by world leaders, appearing to wander off before being pulled back to the group by the Italian prime minister. In reality, another camera angle showed the president was actually trying to greet skydivers who just finished a demonstration. But the Republican National Committee and conservative media quickly amplified the first angle, falsely claiming the president was meandering. The Biden campaign is calling it a, quote, cheap fake.
What is a cheap fake?
Cheap fakes are these, deceptively edited videos, and they're a huge part of Donald Trump's campaign strategy.
Rob Flaherty is Biden's deputy campaign manager, who's overseeing the escalating digital war and slamming the Trump campaign, saying it's increasingly taking videos out of context.
We have to be more aggressive about monitoring, about intervening, about taking action against it, because it is just going to be such a centerpiece of how he's communicating.
That G7 video is among a string of clips that some Republicans say raises concerns about President Biden's age and abilities. The Trump campaign is arguing there's nothing wrong with highlighting videos that are not digitally altered, like this clip of President Biden standing still for several seconds on stage at a Hollywood fundraiser until former President Obama leads him off stage. And another where he also stood still as people danced around him during a Juneteenth celebration. The White House says the president did not freeze in these incidents, but was enjoying the moments. The Trump team telling us
the Biden campaign is trying to convince the American public not to believe their own eyes. We are simply posting these videos for the world to see and to come to their own conclusion on, which the American public has.
The Trump campaign argues the Biden team has taken the former president's words out of context.
We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
By claiming that comment referred to political violence instead of economic pain.
Then he said if he loses, it's going to be a bloodbath.
It's called the bloodbath hoax, taking my words completely out of context.
There's always been misinformation during campaigns, but this election cycle, cyber experts expect much more of it, including AI-generated deepfakes. Current and former officials tell NBC News that the FBI and Department of Homeland Security have no firm plan to alert the public about deepfakes or other false information during the 2024 election, unless it's clearly coming from a foreign actor and poses a sufficiently grave threat. A digital battlefield raising questions about free speech, censorship, and partisan politics. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News, Wilmington, Delaware.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, TikTok taking on the U.S. government in a fight over freedom of speech. The new court documents just filed ahead of a potential ban on the app. Up first after the break, he was a Hollywood mainstay for decades. More on the life and lasting legacy of actor Donald Southernland. Stay with us. Welcome back. This morning, Hollywood is mourning the loss of a big screen legend. Canadian actor Donald Southernland, whose career spanned more than 6 decades, has died at the age of 88. Now his family and friends are paying tribute to his life and legacy. Donald Southernland could not be confined by a single genre, from drama...
Can't you see anything except in terms of how it affects you?
...to comedy...
Look, I'm not joking. This is my job.
...to thrillers.
The one at Elizabeth's place was duplicating her.
I don't play nice or bad or good. I just play the fella. So I can find something in everybody to play.
His big break came in 1967 with The Dirty Dozen.
I'd rather be a civilian, sir.
He was Hawkeye Pierce in the movie MASH.
I've seen you somewhere before. I don't know your name, stranger, but your face is familiar.
Then opposite Jane Fonda in Clute.
Or maybe I can bring you some friends. I've got some terrific friends.
No, thank you.
Later, he ventured into TV, winning an Emmy for Citizen X.
Welcome to the halls of power.
Before introducing himself to a new audience on the big screen in The Hunger Games.
And may the odds be ever in your favor.
In the 2016 Western Forsaken, he played father-son with his real-life son, Kiefer.
He's someone that I've wanted to work with for my whole career.
Kiefer called his dad one of the most important actors in the history of film, never daunted by a role, good, bad, or ugly. From Ron Howard, who directed Southernland in Backdraft, one of the most interesting, intelligent, and engrossing film actors of all time. A body of work that led to an honorary Academy Award in 2017.
Thank you for putting my name on this.
Sealing his sweeping legacy. For more on the life and legacy of Donald Southernland, we're joined by entertainment journalist and pop culture expert Brian Balthazar. Brian, good to have you with us. So his son Kiefer described his father, as we just heard there, as one of the most important actors in the history of film. Talk to us a little more about his legacy, both on and off screen.
Well, it's really interesting to hear him say that, because one of the lines that he says there is that he was never daunted by a role, good, bad, or ugly. You see that there. And I think that's how you get cast in 200 roles in your lifetime, which was the case with Donald Southernland. 200 roles. And you don't get that unless you have a level of versatility that allows you to play the good guy, the bad guy, the ugly guy. And on that note, just to say, he once recounted a story from his childhood when he asked his mother if he was a good-looking kid. And his mother said, "No, but your face has a lot of character." Now, first, that sounds ouch, but you know, that character, that face, that delivery allowed him to transform himself into every man possible, and that's why he got all these roles, and that's why he's left such an incredible mark on us as movie watchers and television watchers.
I mean, he was in countless films plus TV projects. It's kind of hard to define him. Not a leading man, not really a traditional movie star, but always compelling. Just talking with people over the last day or so, everyone kind of refers to a completely different role when they're thinking about him. I mean, what role do you think he'll be remembered for the most?
Remembered for is interesting because every generation, we're looking at film roles since 1965. So every generation is going to have their own, whether it's some who remember his breakout role in The Dirty Dozen or The Hunger Games now. I loved him in The Italian Job. He was great in Backdraft or JFK. Ordinary People, you've got to see him in Ordinary People. So I think it's hard to lock down just one. That's how great he was in so many roles.
What does it say that he was able to stay relevant and stay working for so long in a business that is notoriously fickle?
Wow. Well, you know what? It speaks to the fact not only do you not get 200 roles unless you're talented, but also if you're a good guy and you're easy to work with. People we get, casting directors, movie producers, they get to choose who they work with. And I think it says a lot. We don't really know what he was like as a real guy because we've only seen him in these amazing varied roles. So to not know what he was like is a testament to how great an actor he was. And, he wouldn't have gotten these roles if he wasn't such a great guy to work with.
He really did know how to play an evil character very well.
Oh, yeah, he's chilling sometimes.
Do you have a favorite Donald Sutherland role?
I think Ordinary People and The Italian Job were two of my favorite roles for him. But I think, if you go on Netflix or, your whatever streaming platform and search some of his films, you're going to find one. And I agree. I like him best in chilling, icy roles. I thought he was great in The Hunger Games, too. I thought he was perfect for that series.
All right. Brian Balthazar helping us remember Donald Sutherland. Brian, thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
As the war in Ukraine rages on, 2 beluga whales from an aquarium there are now safe from the war zone. It was a daring mission that involved moving the pair thousands of miles away. NBC News Chief Foreign Affairs correspondent Andrea Mitchell has more on this complex operation.
The Russian offensive is in full force in Kharkiv, the local aquarium at risk, home to 2 beluga whales, 15-year-old Plombier and 14-year-old Miranda. The battle was closing in. Whale food, fresh squid, herring, and mackerel increasingly scarce. Caregivers knew they had to get them out of the war zone.
Were you afraid that you and the whales would come under attack?
Certainly the risk of rockets and things it was on our mind, for sure.
The challenge, how do you move 2 1,500-pound whales in 20,000-pound tanks, almost 3,000 miles to their new home in Spain? Very carefully. The Ukrainians, with experts from the Georgia Aquarium, SeaWorld, and Oceanographic de Valencia, came up with a plan. From Ukraine to Spain, with caregivers calming them down along the way.
Are Plombier and Miranda friends? Are they even a couple? Can I be so bold as to ask?
It's an adult male and an adult female. They seem very bonded, very close.
How do you feel now that you've accomplished this, Daniel?
Taking these animals out of the war is probably one of the life experiences that I could tell my grandkids.
Now safe in their new habitat and looking happy. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News, Washington.
Very happy and very cute. All right, coming up, counterfeit concerns. One drug maker saying it's ready to take legal action over fake versions of its weight loss drugs. The warning from health officials when Morning News Now returns. Welcome back. A startling new report just out reveals an increase in the number of children who died after they were left in a hot car. It is a reminder as summer begins and temps heat up, simple routines can reduce that risk. Susan Hogan, a consumer investigative reporter from our Washington, D.C. affiliate station, WRC, has this report.
Hot car deaths happen all too often, leaving traumatic scars in their wake. In most cases, the child was unintentionally left inside the vehicle, often with the family's change in routine. But how can it happen?
We have a powerful autopilot brain memory system, and it gets us to do things automatically. And in that process, we lose awareness of other things in our mind, including that there's a child in the car.
Even on days with mild temperatures, the heat inside a vehicle can reach dangerous levels within an hour, posing significant health risks to small children or pets left inside.
Children aren't able to efficiently regulate their own body temperature, and their bodies can heat up 3 to 5 times faster than in adults.
One new safety tool, some car manufacturers have introduced technology that goes beyond just reminding drivers if they leave something behind in the back seat.
This new technology could actually detect an occupant.
But this advancement is not widely available. Consumer Reports advice for all parents: create a routine with your own reminders every time you drive.
You should create a habit of putting a personal item in the back seat, like your laptop or your phone. This forces you to visit the back seat after every trip.
And some people go so far as to say, put your shoe in the back. Give yourself a cue so that when you get out of the car, you have that reminder.
It's an easy behavioral change, enough to trigger the brain to do something different that could save a life.
Our thanks to Susan Hogan for that report. And if you're wondering if a cracked open window or parking in the shade will help cool the car enough, the answer is simply no. That is why it is important to never leave a child unattended in a vehicle. This morning, health officials are warning about risky counterfeits of popular weight loss drugs. Both the World Health Organization and drug maker Eli Lilly say people should be on the lookout for fake versions of Wegovy and Zepbound. And now Lilly says it's even ready to take legal action against the counterfeits. Here's NBC News correspondent Ann Thompson with more.
Weight loss drugs are now a global phenomenon.
I went down 4 pant sizes.
This country accounting for 71% of semaglutide sales, the active ingredient in Wegovy and Ozempic, a diabetes drug. But high demand breeds counterfeits that could jeopardize your health. The World Health Organization warning that it found fake batches of Ozempic in the U.S., U.K., and Brazil last year.
Could have contaminants that could actually harm you.
UC San Diego professor Tim Mackey and his team of researchers bought counterfeits of semaglutide online to find out what's being sold.
And when we purchased 6 of these products from online pharmacies, 3 were scammers, and another 3 sent us products that had questionable quality safety issues associated with them.
And so if somebody had taken any of these drugs, could they have ended up in the hospital or ill from the drugs?
Yeah, so patients, 1, could have been scammed out of thousands of dollars, and 2, they could have taken a product that had too much semaglutide in them and could have been injured from that as well.
Lilly also warning about fake versions of tirzepatide, the active ingredient in Mounjaro and Zepbound, its diabetes and weight loss drugs. Lilly says it does not sell these drugs on social media and warns illegal online pharmacies selling fakes put people at risk. Lilly and Novo Nordisk, the maker of Wegovy and Ozempic, say they are the only manufacturers of these drugs and there are no generics.
All right, Ann, thank you so much. For more on what you need to know about these counterfeit drugs, let's bring in NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel. Dr. Patel, good to have you with us. So as we're seeing more reports like this pop up, it's also a reminder of similar warnings that were issued by the parent company of Ozempic in the past. In Ann's piece, the professor talked about the medical danger posed by getting too much semaglutide in these counterfeits. So what can too much of that drug do to someone, and what might those symptoms be?
Yeah, you can see a spectrum of symptoms, Joe, starting with nausea and vomiting, all the way to, in very severe cases, pancreatitis, or things that can happen where you get an infection with your gallbladder, leading to sepsis. So it can be very serious, but usually it starts with some sort of nausea, vomiting, fatigue, headaches, and that can last for days, just to reiterate a point, because the half-life of these drugs are days. So this could be an ongoing problem for many days.
As you know, these drugs are enormously popular. They are also expensive, and they are tough to get. So from a public health perspective, what does it tell you that the World Health Organization is actually taking this step?
Yeah, I think the World Health Organization taking this step signifies 3 things. Number 1, that this is an uptick across the world in the demand for these drugs, which we already knew, Joe, but also in the kind of fakes and counterfeits that are in response to that demand. Number 2, that this is really a global health equity issue. The pricing, to your point, is out of reach for not just so many people in the United States, but so many people across the world. And I think they're trying to underscore we need to come to a better place when we see such demand to have a supply that's more equitable. And then I think third, and probably the most important, is just caveat emptor, just buyer beware. I think the World Health Organization is trying to indicate that this is something that they want everybody, regardless of access, to be aware of and spread just more information around some of the problems with these counterfeits, fakes, and just the fact that, again, you shouldn't be buying these things online. I did a quick social media search, Joe. Every single social media platform, I could find a mechanism to buy this online, leading to what we heard in Ann's report, likely fakes or counterfeits or not the actual drug, since the drug makers don't sell that online.
Important to keep that in mind. Just a simple search there, and that's what you saw. So for people who are actually prescribed these medications, what can they do to make sure they're taking the real thing? What should they be on the lookout for? What questions should they be asking their doctor or pharmacist?
Yeah, so absolutely asking their pharmacist, if you go to some of the large box pharmacies, think CVS, Walgreens, those have like very safe supply chains. But many of us use pharmacies where we might not necessarily know the supply of the drugs. Always look at the container. You should see a lot number. You should see the manufacturer very clearly on there. You should see an expiration date. So those are just like you would on a gallon of milk, Joe. Look for that on your drug itself, on that box and container. But feel free to ask the pharmacist and say, did this come directly directly from the manufacturer, pharmacists are very used to dealing with these questions because we've had so many compounding pharmacies. And then again, if you're buying something online, because there are online ways to get this drug legitimately, pharmacies like Amazon, CVS, Walgreens can deliver to your house. So if you do buy something online, feel free to pick up a phone and be able to talk to a pharmacist and say, I just want to make sure I'm getting the authentic product that my doctor prescribed. And that can also be reassuring.
It seems like what's fueling this problem is the shortages. Does it seem like we're going to be moving toward a place where there is going to be more of this drug or enough of it so that maybe it will prevent us from having to worry so much about fake drugs?
We do. I do know, first of all, there are so many, in addition to what we've found from Novo Nordisk and Lilly, there are other manufacturers that are kind of in process with clinical trials where they also expect to offer competing products. Usually when we see that kind of competition, Joe, the prices do come down. That might take a year or two as these trials are working through and the FDA is reviewing this data. So in the now, we don't have really a short-term solution, which is why you're seeing so many people offering this. Technically, this is a drug that is listed as a shortage. So these compounded drugs, which is something we've talked about on previous reports, is something that's an alternative, but you have to be very careful. Again, ask your pharmacist, ask the person supplying the drug, where did you obtain this product? And so I think that we will not have this conversation in about a year or two, but until then, this demand is sky high. And I think Lilly underscored a point. They don't recommend this. It is not studied for cosmetic weight loss. When I have someone who wants 5 pounds of weight loss, this is not for them.
Important reminder there, and always be an advocate for yourself. Dr. Kavita Patel, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Coming up, the clock is ticking for TikTok. Now the social media giant taking new steps to stop a potential nationwide ban. We're going to have the latest developments from court. Plus, more and more Americans spending their summer vacations at sea. We're going to take you below deck for a look at a booming industry next on Morning News Now. We're back with the hugely consequential battle over the future of TikTok here in the U.S. In scathing court filings, TikTok's lawyers and a group of creators on the app accuse the U.S. government of trying to violate Americans' right to free speech. It's just the beginning of the court fight over a law that says TikTok's Chinese parent company, ByteDance, must sell the company by January 19th, or it will be banned in the U.S. Kristen Gibbons-Fedden is here to explain what this all means. She's a civil rights attorney and former prosecutor, as well as an NBC News contributor. Kristen, good to have you with us. So this brief was filed to the U.S. Court of Appeals in Washington yesterday by TikTok attorneys and a group of 8 content creators. The sale or ban law from the Biden administration set this appeals court as the exclusive jurisdiction for any challenges. So first of all, just explain to us what that means and how it might be different from other court battles.
Sure, yeah. So as you mentioned, Biden and his administration set the D.C. Court of Appeals for exclusive jurisdiction. That means that TikTok and any challenger to that law has to start their lawsuit there, with the final arbiter, of course, being the Supreme Court. And this is significant, because what it does is it centralizes the legal battle in one court, so it prevents TikTok and other challengers from filing suits in other areas, potentially speeding up the legal process, or even what it does is avoid inconsistent rulings across different states. But this particular court, Joe, is actually known for its expertise in national security. So it really ensures that this critical national security issue is handled by judges that are best equipped to handle it.
All right, let's talk about the brief. TikTok says, quote, never before has Congress silenced so much speech in a single act. Going on to say the U.S. law, quote, sets a dangerous precedent, which it likens to the kind of suppressive internet laws in China that lawmakers here have criticized. What's your take on this? Is this going to be the heart of the legal battle here?
Absolutely, because what that one line actually does is it centers all of the constitutional challenges that TikTok is actually raising. They're raising, as you mentioned, this is a platform, and this law actually bans free speech use for millions of Americans. In that line, Joe, they're also raising due process concerns because they're saying basically this law is an unfair taking of property. They're also saying that this law unconstitutionally singles out TikTok for punishment. So that is the crux of their legal argument, but they're all centering around the constitutional right to free speech.
All right, let's get out our calendars here. Both the Justice Department and TikTok asked for a decision from the court by December 6th. That would give the Supreme Court time to review it before the January 19th deadline. But we also know the Supreme Court does kind of move slowly. Is that realistic? I mean, what happens if there's not a ruling by then?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I think given the high stakes of this case and the potential impact on national security and the constitutional challenges involved, the court's likely to move as expeditiously as possible. But Joe, as you pointed out, the court makes their own deadlines. So, I think in reality, even whatever decision the D.C. court makes, whatever decision happens, there's always going to be appeals. So I don't think it's realistic. What could happen instead is an injunction could be laid down. In other words, they would say, okay, that January 19th deadline to sell TikTok, while it sounds like it's a long way away, we're actually going to stop it so that we have the opportunity to really analyze all of these legal arguments and make sure we're making the right decision. So essentially, it'll stay that deadline so that they'll have more time.
All right, Kristen Gibbons-Fedden, thank you for the explanation. Appreciate your time this morning. Let's get some financial headlines. After a massive data breach earlier this year, Change Healthcare is now notifying the users impacted by that cyber attack. CNBC's Silvana Henao has that and other money news. Silvana, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good Friday morning to you. Yeah, as you mentioned, so Change Healthcare is starting to notify hospitals, insurers, and other customers who had patient data exposed in a massive cyber attack earlier this year. The company, which is a division of United Health Group, provides technology used to submit and process billions of insurance claims. Hackers gained access to the company's system in February, disrupting payments and claims for doctors' offices and healthcare systems nationwide. Now, Change will start notifying individuals and patients in late July. Hackers are reportedly selling off consumer data from Quote Wizard. That's a unit of LendingTree that provides quotes and rates on all types of insurance policies. Bloomberg says LendingTree is still trying to determine the impact of the breach after it found unauthorized activity on a database hosted by cloud platform Snowflake. Now, it's unclear yet how the theft occurred and if it was part of a broader effort by hackers to steal data from Snowflake's customers. And Netflix is expanding into yet another avenue. This time it's snacks. The streaming service is partnering with Popcorn Indiana to sell a ready-to-eat popcorn bag to go with your ready-to-binge TV show. Now Popping comes in two flavors, Cult Classic Cheddar Kettle and Swoon-worthy Cinnamon Kettle. The Netflix popcorn will be available at Walmart stores nationwide and other retailers. An 8-ounce bag costs $4.49, Joe. Those flavors sound so good.
Yeah, I like a flavored popcorn, so we'll see. All
Yum.
Right. Silvana, thank you. Let's stick with your money and take a look at how the big summer travel season is affecting the economy, with record-breaking spending expected on the roads and skies, as well as on the water. Here's our senior business correspondent, Christine Romans.
Aboard the schooner Stephen Tabor, which set sail from Rockland, Maine, the summer is completely booked.
Schooner Stephen Tabor, Whiskey Delta Bravo.
Captain Noah Barnes, like his parents before him, ushering in guests.
Welcome aboard the Stephen Tabor. We're going to have a great time.
Vacationers pay just over $300 a night to eat, drink, and sleep aboard. 260! And pitch in.
Hoist the stage riser. We've got pilots, and we've got lab techs, and we've got plumbers, and we've got cable installers. It's everybody.
So business is good.
So business is good.
Americans' summer travel budgets are up 18% overall from last year, and travelers are hungry for experiences.
My cell phone went off and just got thrown into the cabin, and it was just wonderful.
Below deck.
Today I'll be cooking breakfast for about 26 people, including crew. And yeah, just another morning in paradise.
Chef Gray Lideker serves it up.
We're having blueberry Dutch baby. Oh. We're having a maple sausage that is from a small farm in Iowa.
What's this job like?
Well, it's basically cooking all day long inside of a shaking box.
You must love boats.
Yes. The prerequisite for the job is must love boats.
Fenders, please.
For Captain Barnes, rising costs are a challenge he has to pass on to passengers.
I don't worry about our product. I worry about staffing. I worry about the cost of materials.
Do customers balk at the higher prices, or they're still coming?
We haven't seen a dip. I don't think we've met the place where people are resistant to pay it, but we don't want to find that spot.
To maintain crew, he has raised wages. Even still, Chef Gray and several deckhands live aboard when they aren't sailing. Housing costs on the mainland out of reach.
I couldn't find anything. It was phenomenally expensive, so staying on the boat just made economic sense.
Gray sleeps here, under the stairs. You can learn a lot about today's economy aboard a 115-foot wooden schooner built when Ulysses Grant was president.
Finish the sentence for me. The American economy
seems to be doing just fine from where we're sitting. Well, there's something about this experience, being outside, being in good company, sort of reminds people the important things. There's good company, there's good food, there's cool boats.
A contrast on deck. For so many, affordability a challenge, even while travel and leisure are booming. Christine Romans, NBC News, Rockland, Maine.
Coming up, from the battlefield to one of the world's most famous music venues, how one Marine veteran made his way to the stage of the Grand Ole Opry in honor of his fellow American heroes. Stay with us. You're watching Morning News Now. Welcome back. For PTSD Awareness Month, we're bringing you the story of one Marine veteran. He has battled back from wounds of war, both visible and invisible, to reach his fellow veterans. And as NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber explains, he did it all from one of the biggest stages in country music.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
It's the moment Sal Gonzalez has been waiting decades for. His debut at one of the most iconic music venues in the country, the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee.
This one goes out to all you veterans. I hope you like it, and I hope it strikes a chord.
Those veterans, his brothers and sisters in arms. Gonzalez joined the Marines in the wake of the attacks on 9/11.
I was in English class in high school, and we watched the Twin Towers fall. And I knew all of a sudden that we were going to go to war, and I wanted to go do my part.
Gonzalez was serving as a machine gunner in Iraq in 2004 when his vehicle was hit with an improvised explosive device.
I'd been in a coma for a week. Both my lungs collapsed. I almost died a couple of times, and my leg was in shambles.
Months later, Gonzalez and his doctors made the difficult decision to amputate his left leg below the knee. It's now a very physical reminder of the toll of war, but there are mental scars too.
I thought it was normal to just go and drink myself to sleep because I didn't want to think about stuff. I think more than anything, the survivor's guilt was the thing that was hardest to deal with. Thinking of all these friends that I'd lost, not just my lieutenant who was killed in the explosion that took my leg.
Soon, Gonzalez learned to rely on the passion that he'd had since childhood, music, ultimately partnering with the Wounded Warrior Project to play for other veterans across the country.
Danny had a daughter that he'll never get to see, and I know that he was proud. He was only 23. Some of those vets were like, hey, that's awesome. You nailed it on the head. I couldn't have said those words myself. I'm just happy to get to be a part of that and get to give back to an organization that I'm pretty sure, had they not been around, I don't think I'd be around.
That passion quickly becoming more than just a pastime. Gonzalez moving to Nashville to pursue a career in music and even appearing on America's Got Talent in 2014.
No sunshine, seas gold. This house just ain't no home. Anytime she goes away.
And just last month, that offer of a lifetime.
Making his Opry debut, let's give him a warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, Sal Gonzalez.
Gonzalez taking the stage with an original song written after one of his fellow veterans called him a hero.
I'm not trying to say you're wrong, but heroes ain't the ones who make it home. No.
The Opry crowd giving Gonzalez a standing ovation.
Thank you so much, folks. God bless. My name's Sal Gonzalez. It's hard to explain that moment, to be totally honest. I'm not special by any means. I'm just a normal dude. And some of the people that I served with that didn't come home
were those exceptional people.
Gonzalez now working toward a full-time music career, even playing us a little bit of his latest original about being away from his family, playing music on the road.
These nights can get so lonely, but I never thought they'd own me. So I'm starting to hate the thing I love the most.
But no matter where his music career takes him, Gonzalez says he'll always make time to serve his fellow veterans. And for those who may be struggling, he hopes you'll remember this.
This world is better with you in it. Don't give up.
I love how he's taking all this attention and shining a light on others. Our thanks to Ellison Barber for bringing us that inspiring story. That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but please stay with us. The news continues right now. Good Friday morning. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah Sellers is on assignment today. Right now on Morning News Now, bringing the heat. Multiple temperature records broken as an unprecedented heat wave scorches the country from coast to coast. Alerts in place for tens of millions of people, with many looking to cool off by flocking to the nation's beaches, an alternative to scarce air conditioning.
It gets that hot, everybody flocks to the beaches. There'll be plenty of room here. I just tell everybody, bear with the traffic, bear with the crowds.
Plus, we'll hear from a New Mexico mayor about the ongoing effort to contain the wildfires that are raging in that state. Also this morning, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu showing no signs of backing down in the public rift with the Biden administration over weapons deliveries. The latest on that as Israeli forces continue to pound the Gaza Strip. Setting the stage, we are just days out from the first presidential debate. President Biden preparing to lock horns with former President Trump as the showdown nears. The Biden campaign criticizing the Trump team, accusing them of making videos that it's calling cheap fakes as the campaigning on both sides becomes more aggressive. Plus, remembering an iconic actor. We're going to look back at the remarkable film career of Donald Southernland, who died at the age of 88. His son, fellow actor Kiefer, paying a heartfelt tribute to his legendary dad. Thanks again for joining us. Glad to have you with us. We're going to start this hour with the latest on the extreme weather scorching several states across the U.S. On the East Coast, an unrelenting heat wave is putting tens of millions under heat alerts today. Dozens of cities are on track to shatter heat records over the weekend. Well, out west, emergency crews are battling deadly wildfires and flash flooding in New Mexico. It's a weather whiplash that prompted President Biden to make a disaster declaration in southern parts of that state. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin has the latest.
Hey there, millions are bracing for yet another scorcher. Folks will be heading out to beaches like this one to try to beat the heat. So far this year, more than 12,000 record highs have been recorded at weather stations across the country, and the summer has just begun. It's the first full day of summer with extreme weather from coast to coast.
I don't even have words for it. It's that hot.
From tropical storm flooding in Texas to deadly and devastating wildfires out west and sweltering record-breaking heat in the Northeast. Just outside New York City, a double commuter headache on the roads and rails. On Thursday, the heat fueling a brush fire, triggering a massive traffic jam on I-95, and power outages forcing the suspension of Amtrak and local train service, causing a ripple effect of delays and cancellations on the busy Northeast corridor.
I am exhausted. It is hot. I can't do it anymore.
In the city's streets, doubling as splash parks with the help of fire hydrants turned sprinklers. Across the tri-state area, power grids being pushed to the brink by the increased demand for AC. Further north in states like Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Vermont, where searing heat is unusual, many people don't have air conditioning at all.
Everybody asks if we have AC. We do not.
One Massachusetts district ended the school early so that kids and teachers could avoid sweltering classrooms.
Brutal. Very, very hot. I feel bad for the kids who have to walk in it, too.
Across the country in New Mexico, a major disaster has been declared after a deadly wildfire devastated communities, destroying hundreds of homes and forcing thousands to flee. Crews nowhere near containing that blaze. Meanwhile, parts of the Texas coast are still dealing with extreme flooding, even though Tropical Storm Alberto is long gone.
I didn't actually think it was going to happen 2 days back to back. It receded yesterday pretty good, and this morning we woke up, but we're completely covered again.
And it looks like it's only going to get worse. Experts are now predicting above average temps for the entire nation for the month of July. They're pointing to climate change as the culprit. Back to you.
All right, Erin, thank you so much. As she mentioned, crews are working around the clock to contain 2 deadly wildfires in New Mexico. Those efforts being complicated now by heavy rain and flash flooding, especially in the mountain village of Ruidoso, which is located between those 2 fires. Joining me now is the mayor of Ruidoso, Lynn Crawford. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for your time. I know this is an incredibly busy time for you. You said these fires, which reached your village earlier this week, have wiped out entire communities. Now you have this heavy rain coming in on Wednesday, triggering flash flooding. First and foremost, how is your community doing right now? Can you even get in there to see the extent of the damage?
Well, we just have our, local infrastructure folks that are working here, essentials. Of course, we have a lot of police presence, military, National Guard, people like that. But as far as residents, they're still evacuated to the surrounding local communities. And in fact, as far as Texas, it's very dangerous to get in right now. We still are actively fighting the fire. We have more firefighters arriving daily. And now then we are staging for the flooding that is predicted to come, which is going to be massive, from all the radars and meteorologists, all the people that we have here, what they're showing us on radar. So we've got a lot of heavy equipment in from the National Guard, from the Department of Transportation, our own equipment, contractors that are staged just outside of the area so that they can be brought in immediately. We're just going to try to protect the homes that we have, the bridges that are still here. But it's predicted that over the next 2 or 3 days that we should probably lose a few of the bridges. And for a small community of around 10,000 people, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. We're a tourist community, so this is the height of our season. And this is very, very rough on our businesses and our citizens, to say the very least.
What is your biggest concern right now?
The biggest concern is that, we still have a lot of homes here, a lot of things to protect, that we protect those, and that we do not have any more loss of life. We have had some, and we just want our citizens, and that's who I'd like to speak to. I know your listeners all across the country, we're receiving a lot of donations, food, prayers, things of that nature, but specifically to the folks of Ruidoso that are displaced right now. Trust us, we're working hard to protect what we have. We've got the experts in, and I'm reminded all the time, I didn't get any smarter when I got elected to mayor. So we brought in the experts and our local people here that are trained in wildland fire. They are the experts, and that's who we're listening to.
Do you worry that there are people who haven't evacuated at all?
Absolutely, and we're trying to make sure that those people are aware of the situation, because we've had our partners with AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, others that have come in and put up these mobile towers so that we're able to get some signal here for cell phone, because the fire took out a lot of our electricity and infrastructure. So we've had our local electrical co-op here, P&M, has been out working along with our natural gas provider, ZIA, to make sure that the areas are safe. But we've got to bring in search and rescue teams to search for those that didn't make it out.
The fires are devastating enough, but then you add this flash flooding on top of that. I realize people might think, oh, rain, water, that's going to help, but that's certainly not the case. How is this impacting the fight?
Well, it can make it very treacherous for the firefighters on the ground, depending on where the rain falls. We're hoping that it doesn't fall directly heavily on the burn scar. Because what that'll do is it'll just make it that much more difficult for the firefighters on the ground. It'll make it more unsafe for them, and their safety is, on the tip of our tongue. We're always talking about it and planning for their safety. It's a very difficult situation, and some people just don't understand how flash floods work. But the ground, after it's been burned with the ash, is hydrophobic, so it's not taking on any water. It just picks up logs and debris and builds a big wall of material that moves down the water column. And that's another issue. We're very concerned about our watershed and our drinking water. Currently, we're all secure. We have a lot of water that is stored in storage containers throughout the community. Our wastewater treatment plant is secure. We have backup generators in the event that we lose additional power. We want to prevent another disaster if the plant was taken over by the flood.
Certainly don't want a horrible situation to grow even worse. Mayor Lynn Crawford, we appreciate your time this morning. We are thinking of you and your community.
Thank you so much for having us.
Let's get to NBC News meteorologist Michelle Grossman for more on what we can expect this weekend. She has the forecast. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. And unfortunately, we're going to expect more of the same. We are looking at the chance for really dangerous temperatures continuing throughout the weekend into early next week. And then the projection for July looks to be above normal as well. So there's that intense heat once again in the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, the Northeast, and then extending into the Mid-Atlantic. The good news is northern New England getting a little reprieve today. You can see that line there with the blue and the red. That is a front that's situated. So north of that, we are much cooler. So a little bit of a break for them as we had heat indices in the triple digits in Bangor, Maine the past couple of days. Better today. We're looking at flooding and stormy conditions in portions of the northern plains into the upper Midwest. We're upper Mississippi Valley too. We're looking at the chance for some flash flooding there as well. So do be careful on this Friday. A flood threat throughout the Southwest into portions of the Intermountain West. And we're also looking at tropical showers throughout Florida. That's due to a disturbance right off the coast and then another disturbance in the Gulf. So we're going to add to the rainfall in parts of Texas once again. Then as we near tomorrow, the big story remains the summer scorcher throughout portions of the Mid-Atlantic into parts of the Northeast and also New England. Notice that green in parts of the Northeast. So we're expecting some showers as well. Some could be heavy in New England where you're seeing that yellow there with some thunderstorms. Severe storms are likely once again in the Great Lakes, the upper Midwest. Could see additional flash flooding there as well. And then you see that green still in Florida, still in southern Texas, and that's where we're expecting that disturbance to still bring some rain. There are two different disturbances off into the Atlantic and also the Gulf. The West is heating up as well. So we're looking at 92 million Americans across the country under heat alerts and 64 million in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic and also the Great Lakes. More record highs on Sunday. Plenty of sunshine throughout the northern plains, the central plains, the Midwest. So we're going to dry it out there, which is good news. Rainy still for southern Texas, also through Florida. So it's going to be a wet weekend in those spots. Let's sprinkle in a little bit of good news here because I know the weather's been a little daunting lately. We're looking at really nice conditions, a little bit warm for the PGA Championships. This is Sammamish, Washington. We're looking at 86 degrees today. Bright sunshine, sun and clouds on Saturday. Sunday, look at that. Nice and cool at 66 degrees. Also looking at a few showers, but we're not expecting heavy rain. Speaking of the heat, 64 million Americans in the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, the Mid-Atlantic, also the Northeast under heat alerts because we're going to see those temperatures soaring once again into the 90s, into the triple digits by tomorrow for some spots. 96 degrees today in Evansville. You factor in that humidity, it's going to feel warmer than that. We're going to get close to record-breaking temperatures once again. We've already broken so many records. We're going to break monthly records as well. Also nighttime lows, daytime highs. That will be the same story as we go throughout tomorrow. 99 degrees in Washington. The record there is 101. Richmond, same story, right around the triple digits. We could certainly get to the triple-digit mark there, but we're forecasting 99. 96 in Peoria, and we're also looking at Peoria and also looking at Chicago, really warm day there. We are trending cooler in quotes because it's still going to be really warm in New York City as we near Tuesday, but Sunday is going to be warm. Monday, 90 degrees. D.C., 99 on Sunday. Monday, 94. And Tuesday on 94 degrees, too. So, Joe, we need to be careful over the next several days. We are looking at dangerous heat continuing through the weekend and throughout the beginning of next week. Back to you.
Cooling down to 94 is still pretty hot.
Quotes.
All right. Michelle, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Agreed.
The Biden administration is once again clashing with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, this time over aid shipments for the country's war with Hamas. White House officials are denying they paused shipments after Netanyahu released a video accusing the U.S. of withholding weapons in recent months. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley joins us now from Tel Aviv with the latest on this. Matt, good morning.
Hey, good morning. So what we're seeing, actually, Benjamin Netanyahu has commented on this once again. He made some comments that were published today based on an interview with Punchbowl News, in which he said that he was grateful for President Biden's support, but that there were some outstanding supply issues that have not yet been resolved.
American officials firing back as the diplomatic dispute between the Biden administration and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu continues.
I didn't know what the Prime Minister was talking about or what he was trying to accomplish, and I'm happy to make the record clear.
White House officials still visibly annoyed by a video released by Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu on Tuesday, scolding the administration for what he said were delays in American weapons deliveries.
It's inconceivable that in the past few months, the administration has been withholding weapons.
Netanyahu's still not backing down, this time writing on X, formerly known as Twitter, "I'm willing to absorb personal attacks if that's what it takes for Israel to get the arms and ammunition it needs in its war for survival." But Netanyahu faces his fiercest resistance at home, where families of dozens of hostages still being held in the Gaza Strip are raising pressure with a week of protests. One of them, Naama Levy, will celebrate her 20th birthday tomorrow in captivity. This year, her brother's wishes for her birthday are modest.
The most basic needs, like she would have something to eat on her birthday, that maybe she has a friend or two around her.
Images of Naama, bruised and bloody, have made her a symbol of the horrors young women have endured at the hands of Hamas. A symbol that's difficult for Amit to watch.
I woke up this morning, and I don't know how she woke up. I don't know if she even slept. I don't know what maybe these awful human beings that did awful things might still be doing these awful things. And sometimes it's really hard for me to breathe.
And Joe, there's also new information saying that American aid may be reaching Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The U.S. military announced yesterday that floating pier has now been reattached to the beach in the Gaza Strip and that aid is already being transferred. Joe?
All right, Matt, thank you so much. In the race for the White House, we are now less than a week away from the first presidential debate. But in our fast-paced social media culture, both the Biden and Trump campaigns are escalating their battles online, including using something the Biden team is calling cheap fakes. And for the first time, we're hearing former President Trump acknowledge he lost the 2020 election. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez is here with all of the latest. Gabe, good morning.
Hey there, Joe. Good morning. President Biden is at Camp David for the next few days to prep for that debate. But the first round is already being fought online, with both campaigns getting more aggressive, trying to shape the narrative.
This morning, the stage is set for next week's crucial debate. President Biden winning a coin toss, picking the lectern on the right side of the stage. Former President Trump will deliver the night's final closing statement. But ahead of the first 2024 debate, for the first time, Mr. Trump, in an interview for a new book, appeared to briefly acknowledge he lost the 2020 election when asked about his relationship to Geraldo Rivera.
And are you guys still close, or are you no longer?
No, I don't think so. He is... After I lost the election, I won the election, but when they said he called me up 3 or 4 times.
Now, with their face-to-face meeting days away, the Biden campaign is accusing the Trump team of using, quote, cheap fakes.
What is a cheap fake?
Cheap fakes are these, deceptively edited videos, and they're a huge part of Donald Trump's campaign strategy.
At last week's G7 summit in Italy, this camera angle appeared to show President Biden wandering off before being pulled back to the group by the Italian Prime Minister. In reality, another angle showed the president was actually trying to greet skydivers who just finished a demonstration. But the Republican National Committee and conservative media quickly amplified the first angle, falsely claiming the president was confused.
These deceptive videos are out here because Donald Trump is desperate to distract from his unpopular agenda.
Still, it's among a string of clips some Republicans say raises concerns about President Biden's age and ability. This video shows President Biden standing still for several seconds on stage at a Hollywood fundraiser until former President Obama leads him off stage. In another, he also stands still as people dance around him during a Juneteenth celebration. The White House says the president did not freeze in these incidents, but was simply enjoying the moment. The Trump campaign insists the clips are not misleading.
The Biden campaign is trying to convince the American public not to believe their own eyes. We are simply posting these videos for the world to see and to come to their own conclusion.
The race for campaign cash is also heating up. Businessman Timothy Mellon gave a super PAC backing Mr. Trump $50 million, one of the largest contributions in history. The date of the contribution was the day of Mr. Trump's conviction in New York. Meanwhile, billionaire Michael Bloomberg gave about $20 million to groups backing President Biden, Joe.
All right, Gabe, thank you so much. And you can watch the presidential debate hosted by CNN right here on NBC News Now next Thursday night. Turning now to the Supreme Court, where the justices are nearing the end of the term. They've yet to release decisions on a series of high-profile cases, including issues like gun rights, abortion access, and presidential immunity. Those decisions could come as early as today and might have serious implications for the country. So let's dig into it with NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Danny, first of all, I think people are keeping an eye on this presidential immunity case, the broad argument for immunity that former President Trump is making, especially when it comes to his actions during the 2020 election. What are the possibilities here?
Here's what's not going to happen. The court will not conclude that a president has absolute immunity for everything that could possibly be prosecuted. The other thing they're not going to conclude is that there's no such thing as immunity, which is really what the lower court concluded. I don't think that's going to stand. What I think you're going to see is something in the middle, because both sides essentially concede what I just said. Neither is arguing for the extreme. So the government is essentially conceding there are core executive functions like the pardon power, the appointments power, that are, I guess, immune. They don't like to use that word, but there may be immunity for those. And Trump's team is arguing that there is no immunity for private conduct. The challenge for the court is deciding what is private conduct and what is not. What is official conduct and whether or not that official conduct can even be parsed out or separated in a criminal indictment. Justice Gorsuch perhaps said it best. The parties are arguing on their specific facts, but the court has a job to write an opinion for the ages, as Justice Gorsuch put it.
Some folks are thinking about Watergate and the Supreme Court deciding on whether President Nixon's taped conversations were protected by executive privilege. That decision took, 16 days? We're now like 57 days away from these arguments. Should we read anything into that time frame?
No, you can try, but it really doesn't yield much, because people like me, people who are watching the court, are wondering, when is it going to come down? And we make predictions, but we're frequently wrong. And that's because federal judges, including Supreme Court justices, really operate on their own timeline. And if we're talking about the Supreme Court, on a collective timeline. So anything could be holding this up. Something as simple as running spell checker through it for one last time. I'm not being glib. I mean, that really is, this is a publication that is going to be scrutinized for years, decades, maybe even centuries. So they are getting all of these opinions, including immunity, ready to go and making it as perfect as they can on their end. After debating among themselves, the justices, which opinion is ultimately going to be the opinion.
As you say, it's a decision for the ages. Let's talk about abortion. Really, this might be the biggest decision we've had since Roe versus Wade was overturned a couple of years ago. It pits the federal government against the state of Idaho. What are the possible implications of this decision?
Here's the issue. There's a federal law that says that people who come to the emergency room must be provided stabilizing treatment if the hospital participates in Medicare. That's a spending clause. In other words, it's a hook to get hospitals to comply with this federal law. Now, the question is whether or not that requirement to stabilize, whatever stabilizing means, can override an Idaho law prohibiting abortion. Idaho, of course, is arguing that this federal law just requires stabilization. It has nothing to do with abortion, and federal law is not intended to govern malpractice standards in medicine. That is the province of state law. And, of course, the government is arguing the other side, which is this federal law requires stabilization. Sometimes stabilization includes abortion. Therefore, the Idaho law cannot override federal law, which is true. When federal law occupies an area of state law where there's overlap, the federal law usually wins.
Let's also talk about a gun control issue. This tackles whether people with domestic violence restraining orders can still buy firearms. Do we have an idea of where the justices were leaning on this one?
Yes, this one I feel comfortable making a prediction. This will be either a 9-0, an 8-1, maybe a 7-2 decision upholding this federal law. It is a tricky issue because ever since the court's decision in Bruin, they have to go back and look at a historical analog. And is there a historical analog for disarming people who are under domestic violence restraining orders? And the government's argument is that this really isn't about domestic violence restraining orders. The statute focuses on dangerousness. The challenge for the government is that dangerousness is really never been recognized as a reason to disarm people, although there is something of a path to get there if they're not responsible and not law-abiding. So that's probably where the court's going to go. That one I feel comfortable predicting.
All right. Danny Cevallos, as always, thank you so much. Coming up, celebrating a remarkable career. We're going to take a look back at the life and legacy of iconic film star Donald Southernland, who passed away yesterday at the age of 88. How his son Kiefer is paying tribute next. We are back with heartfelt tributes for a big screen legend. Beloved actor Donald Southernland died yesterday at the age of 88 after a long battle with an unspecified illness. He had a film career spanning more than 60 years. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas has more on tributes pouring in from the actor's friends and family, most notably his son Kiefer's message. Chloe, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Donald Southernland's versatility on screen made him famous for dramatic, comedic, and thrilling roles. He even got a chance to star with his son, Kiefer Sutherland, who you just mentioned, and now his family, friends, and fans are all mourning the loss of an actor who always delivered.
I could not have parted with you, my Lizzie, to anyone less worthy.
For Donald Southernland, no role was out of reach.
I don't know your name, stranger, but your face is familiar.
The prolific actor conquered practically every genre on screen during his 6-decade-long career, as he appeared in nearly 200 films and TV shows.
I'm not joking. This is my job.
On Thursday, Sutherland's oldest son, Kiefer, announcing the 88-year-old has died, calling his father one of the most important actors in the history of film, never daunted by a role, good, bad, or ugly. In 2016, the two shared the screen for the first and only time, aptly playing father and son in the film Forsaken.
He's someone that I wanted to work with for my whole career. I didn't give you any advice, did I? I said be truthful.
The Canadian actor's big break came in 1967 with The Dirty Dozen.
Very pretty. But can they fight? Yes, sir. I hope you're right.
A string of memorable film characters followed, including starring roles in MASH and alongside Jane Fonda in Clute.
Or maybe I could bring you some friends. I've got some terrific friends.
No, thank you.
His roles on the small screen earned critical acclaim, including an Emmy and Golden Globe for his role in Citizen X.
Welcome to the halls of power.
Sutherland found new fans in 2012 with his cunning portrayal of President Snow in The Hunger Games.
And may the odds be ever in your favor.
He spoke about his love for complex characters when he stopped by Today in 2016.
I don't play nice or bad or good. I just play the fella. So I can find something in everybody to play.
At the age of 82, Sutherland received an honorary Oscar, thanking his children and wife.
Thank you to Francine Rosset, from whom everything has come and to whom everything is owed.
Word of his death prompting touching tributes. Jane Fonda posting on Instagram, "We loved working together," adding, "I am heartbroken." And Michael Douglas writing, "What a lovely, talented, and curious man. Rest in peace." Sutherland's performances never predictable, but always passionate.
And I don't know what I'm going to do without that.
Kiefer writing, "He loved what he did and did what he loved, and one can never ask for more than that."
Donald Southernland was just about a month away from his 89th birthday, and his talent agency says that his family is going to hold a private celebration of life for him soon. And guys, we've also learned that Southernland was about to start shooting a new movie in August. He was always working, and the director tells NBC News that Southernland had said it would be his last film, and that he had also worked on some script revisions with the producers. No word yet on who would replace Southernland in that film. And he was also working on a memoir that's now going to be coming out this fall.
Oh my goodness, I'm eager to read that. He's had such an incredible career. Exactly.
Right? To just like keep working and something that you really love to do.
Exactly. Chloe, thanks for that look back. Appreciate it. All right, let's get a look now at headlines from around the world this morning. South Korea says it fired warning shots after soldiers from the north crossed the border again. NBC's Claudio Lavanga joins us with that and other international news. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. That's right. That happened early on Thursday morning when South Korean soldiers fired warning shots after several North Korean soldiers crossed the border. Now, this is just the latest incident amid rising tension in the Korean peninsula. On Friday, South Korea summoned the Russian ambassador to protest the new defense pact signed this week by Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, in which they pledged to come to each other's aid if attacked and to share military technology. Now, South Korea's deputy foreign foreign minister called for Moscow to immediately halt its alleged military cooperation with Pyongyang. And let's go to Britain now, where Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said Thursday that anyone found to have used inside information to bet on the date of the election should be expelled from the Conservative Party. The warning comes amid allegations that the UK's Gambling Commission is investigating at least 2 Conservative candidates who bet on the timing of the election before it was announced it will be held on July the 4th. Sunak told the BBC he is incredibly angry and that they should face the full force of the law if they were found guilty. And we end this tour of the world again in London, where Prince William turns 42 and celebrated his birthday by releasing a photograph of him with his children, Prince George, Prince Louis, and Prince Charlotte. Now, the photo shows the prince leaping into the air with the 3 young royals with a message saying, "Happy birthday, Papa. We all love you so much." Well, you can't get a better birthday present than that, I suppose, Joe.
I wonder
Back
how
to
many
you.
takes that took. My goodness, get that just right, everyone up in the air. All right. Claudia, thank you so much. Coming up, soaring temps are leaving many of us sweltering this summer, but the climate crisis is also having a major economic impact. How recent natural disasters and extreme weather phenomena are causing financial havoc. That's next. Welcome back. As parts of the country deal with the scorching heat, 2024 is already set to possibly outpace last year when it comes to the price of recovering from natural disasters. NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns takes a look at the strain not just on homeowners and their budgets, but on the government as well.
Should we get away from the windows?
Tornado outbreaks hitting states like Florida and Nebraska this spring.
We looked over to the northwest and the whole neighborhood's gone.
Wildfires in California and New Mexico. And now, an early season tropical storm, bringing heavy rain to Mexico and Texas.
And rain poured in practically all night.
Intense weather around the country wreaking financial havoc. Already costing more than $25 billion this year through mid-May, NOAA says. Not even halfway through the year, the data from the weather agency shows the country might be on track to match or even pass the cost of 28 individual billion-dollar weather disasters last year, with the most expensive season still to come.
That's the story of the summer of 2024, is we're seeing extreme weather in areas that are not used to it.
There's worry FEMA could run out of money by the end of the summer, something former FEMA Administrator Craig Fugate says is not likely, although the hot weather could drain more taxpayer money. FEMA tells us in a statement it continues to work to ensure sufficient funding and support life-saving and life-sustaining activities.
FEMA's having to go back to Congress for additional appropriations, but we're also now seeing gaps that the program cannot address. The insurance model is breaking down. Increasingly, insurance is becoming unavailable or unaffordable.
And that can hit homeowners hard. Insurance prices spiking, faster than inflation overall in the last few years, soaring an estimated 20% from 2021 to 2023 due to climate catastrophes. And in fire and flood-prone areas like California, Louisiana, and Florida, some insurers are even pulling out, leaving homeowners with limited and costly options.
I think this increase in premiums is inevitable, right? Insurance companies have to make money. Some places are just in areas where the risk is growing quickly.
All right, thanks to Bill Cairns for that report. Now, while many of us are opting to remain indoors to deal with this current heat wave sweeping the country, farmers do need to work outside. In Maine, many farm industries have been preparing for the unusually high temps. NBC News reporter David Guildford from our affiliate station in Portland, Maine, visited 2 farms to see how they're managing the heat.
We can go to the strawberries, we got the blueberries.
At Gossberry Farm in Mechanic Falls, Mike Goss has ways to keep the birds out of the merchandise.
And they were wondering if we're down here shooting stuff. It's like, oh no, that's my bird cannon. Oh, here we go.
But there's little escaping the heat.
I mean, if it was like going to be more than like a week of this, then might be a little more concerned, but.
He's optimistic and doing well. The farm closed to berry pickers Tuesday because they had sold out. There are other berry farms in the area, so to mix it up, Goss uses plastic beds to retain heat under the strawberries, helping them ripen sooner. They'll be doing plenty of ripening this week.
They'll just ripen overnight. And then if you don't get the crowds to come out during the day because it's too hot, then they go by real fast in this heat.
He'll need more customers braving the haze and fast. Over in Durham at Old Crow Ranch, things move at a slow pace. Because of the heat, Steve Sinisi got up early to move his cattle to a nice shady field where they'll graze comfortably, minus the flies, for the week. Now it's time to harvest hay for them.
It's drying down faster than we can bale it right now, because I don't want like dry hay.
It's all well and good until it isn't.
Farming's hard work on a perfect day. Throw in a 105-degree temperature in the cab of that tractor, and the hay baling machine breaks down in the middle of your run while you're trying to get the winter's worth of cow feed in the barn. Maybe that's why not everyone's cut out for it.
And yet, they'll manage the heat like they managed the endless rain last year, with the right mindset.
I do it because I love it, and I do it because I want my kids growing up this way, and it's what I want to do.
Our thanks to David Guildford for that report. The American bald eagle is the symbol of America, but in the 60s, the beloved bird was on the brink of extinction. Well, now, with its population no longer threatened, NBC News correspondent George Solis has the story of one very special eagle and his keeper, making sure that success story continues.
We're good. Go ahead and cue.
This is not something you see every day. You don't have to be an eagle-eyed viewer to see why.
Good job.
Up close and personal with an American bald eagle who seldom wings it. But remember, this is a wild animal.
He's taking his sweet old time today.
Meet Clark the eagle and his handler and longtime bestie of nearly 2 decades, Daniel Cohn.
You know where you're supposed to go, huh? Come here.
During our visit, the dynamic duo getting their reps in during test flights at North Carolina's High Point University ahead of their commencement. Familiar territory for the pair who've been coming here for the past decade, rain or shine.
And now, as we end the ceremony, Clark, the American eagle, will fly over your heads, graduates.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies.
As awe-inspiring and entertaining as it is, each flight delivers an important message.
This species is our national symbol, and we almost lost it.
The 21-year-old eagle is a conservation ambassador for the species, a job you could say he was hatched for.
Do you feel that the work that you've done with Clark has had a direct impact on that conservation?
Absolutely.
Clark, who is pure muscle, boasts an impressive 6-foot wingspan and stands at a little more than 2 feet tall. He's the offspring of one of 2 eagles that were given to President Ronald Reagan back in 1982. Reagan kept the raptors until he donated them. One went to the National Zoo in D.C. Clark's father, Captain, lived out the rest of his life at the World Bird Sanctuary just outside St. Louis as part of the effort to save the eagle. It's where an already bird-obsessed teenage Daniel first met Clark.
Is that a journey you could have imagined taking?
Conservation and working with birds wasn't just a passion, it was a calling. There is a different level of love in the trust that you have. Like, he trusts me and I trust him.
From volunteer to now serving as the assistant executive director of the sanctuary, both Clark and Daniel have been inseparable over the last 18 years.
He was 3, I was 13, and we kind of just grew up together. Now, I mean, Clark is a member of my family. He's very much family to me.
In 2007, 4 years after Clark was born, the American bald eagle was removed from the list of threatened and endangered species. There are now an estimated more than 300,000 bald eagles in the lower 48 states, and the two travel the country, turning heads as they share the eagle success story.
I've spent more nights in a hotel room with this bird than members of my own family.
What's that like?
He sits on a perch, falls asleep, or watches cartoons.
Cartoons.
These are the photos to prove it. They are always happy to pose for photos with the TSA in public on their never-ending mission of conservation.
People wouldn't know that 20 minutes west of St. Louis City, there's an organization that is helping to save birds all around the world. If you lose the species, it's gone forever. There is no Jurassic Park to bring them back.
That resiliency and message of overcoming the odds is why High Point University, among others, remain drawn to Clark, Daniel, and the sanctuary.
You invite him back every year. Why?
High Point University gives you wings. Your parents give you roots. And the combination of both is remarkably powerful, just like the eagle.
Forever soaring and inspiring.
You can't look at this species and not see majesty.
George Solis, NBC News.
Coming up, the Eras Tour reaches a very special stop. We're in London ahead of Taylor Swift's 8 concerts there, how fans are gearing up for the gigs, and why the capital city means so much to the singer who we all know loves a London boy. That's next. Welcome back. As temperatures rise to dangerous levels across the country, it's also leading to a new warning for drivers of electric vehicles. A growing number of reports appear to show that because of scorching temperatures, people are having trouble simply getting into or out of their Teslas. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky has more on the potential safety issue, which many drivers may not know about.
Yeah, good morning, and it's been striking to hear from so many different drivers on this very same issue. One of them not mincing words in a public complaint, calling it a potential death trap after becoming locked inside their electric vehicle when they say the battery died. Now one firefighter is on a mission to educate as many people as they can on how they can help themselves if and when their power goes out.
With an estimated 3 million electric cars cruising on American roads, an urgent warning this morning following multiple reports of drivers getting stuck inside the vehicles or locked out of them if an onboard battery dies. Becky Liebau says she and her daughter were driving a rented Tesla when a 12-volt battery powering the car's electronics died, locking them inside. Unsure how to get out, they called a tow truck driver who didn't know either.
He had said he had never experienced that, and he wasn't sure how he was going to get us out.
Alice Moran says it happened to her, too, on a 97-degree day in Palm Springs.
If we had been on our way to Vegas, for example, that is a long, desolate stretch. And even if you call 911, we might have been dead by the time they got there.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration now urging the owners of electric vehicles to familiarize themselves with the vehicle's features, including the manual door release location, and immediately replace their 12-volt battery if they receive a low battery warning. Most electric vehicles have a main battery that powers the car and a smaller battery for onboard electronics, including the door release and windows. If that 12-volt battery dies, experts say neither will work.
So if the power goes out while you're inside, how do you get out? Well, in this Tesla, a Model 3, look to the armrest, find the unmarked latch, push up, and you're out. But if you're trying to get inside, that's a different issue.
Nobody's telling them about this.
Firefighter Paul Shoemaker now trains first responders on rescues specifically for electric vehicles due to the unique challenges they can pose.
It could be the difference between life and serious injury due to dehydration or even death if it was something where it was like a drowning or a vehicle fire.
Since every electric car is slightly different, he says firefighters often end up breaking windows or tearing open doors to save those inside.
Now, we did reach out to Tesla. So far, we have not received an official response. But in the owner's manuals of the vehicles that we examined, they did have a clear indication of how you can manually open up that door. So make sure you check those out because every model could be slightly different, not just for Teslas, but for all electric vehicles. We'll send it back to you.
Some good advice, Morgan. Thank you. The Eras Tour has arrived in London. Starting tonight, Taylor Swift is playing several sold-out dates in the UK capital, which, as fans know, is a city especially close to her heart. Crowds there have been lining up since yesterday. They do have tickets, right? The excitement is running high. NBC News international correspondent Megan Fitzgerald joins us from London's Wembley Stadium with more on the Taylor takeover. Megan, good morning.
Joe, good morning to you. Look, these fans have been waiting over a year for this moment. It's finally here. Are you guys excited? Yeah, Joe, just a little excited. Look, they have paid talented London Taylor. Take a look for yourself here. You can see these steps are painted with her face, but this is just the start of what's expected to be an epic summer ahead. We love Taylor!
This morning, London is gearing up for Taylor Mania. Starting tonight, Taylor Swift playing a record 8 shows at the famous Wembley Stadium. And the fans, well, they're a little excited. While the Brits are stoked, Taylor's American fans do travel well. These devoted Swifties came all the way from LA.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how excited are you?
13.
Yeah. 13? Okay.
London hosting more performances than any other city in the world. And locals here think they own a piece of Taylor's heart. But is her connection to the city still intact after heartbreak with her so-called London boys? Swift living here part-time for 6 years while in a long-term relationship with British actor Joe Alwyn. Their breakup last year potentially influencing her latest record lyrics. Alwyn opening up for the first time about the relationship, telling the Sunday Times the difficulties that come with the end of a long, loving, fully committed relationship is a hard thing to navigate. But she left her mark in London through her music.
Camden Market is such a London staple.
You can find me in the pub.
What's more British than a pint? Yeah, thank you so much. In a pub.
This is Taylor's favorite kebab shop. She comes in and she gets, thank you very much, a chicken kebab with extra garlic sauce and salad on top. The tour's UK shows expected to boost the economy to the tune of more than $1 billion. London is welcoming Taylor with open arms, with new murals and these just unveiled Swiftie steps.
I want to keep secrets just to keep you.
The party here in London is just getting started.
Okay, Joe, so last week in Edinburgh at the concert there, the fans created seismic activity because they danced so hard. So I had a question for these guys. Can you top that?
Yeah!
Okay. Are you sure you can top that?
Yeah!
All right, Joe, I guess London's about to be rumbling here.
All right, get ready. Earthquake's coming. Megan, thank you so much. Enjoy the time there. All right, coming up, get ready to head out on the highway. We have all the entertainment you need to know about, from motorcycle movie The Bike Riders to a comedy about a 93-year-old vigilante. All that and more on your can't miss list coming up next. Finally, this hour, it is Friday, which means it's time for your weekly can't miss list to look at all the films and shows and all the stuff you need to see this weekend if you want to be in the know when you get back to work on Monday. Andrew Freud is a television host and pop culture expert. He joined us now with what you can't miss. All right, so let's start off in the movie theaters. The Bike Riders.
Yes.
You've got Austin Butler, who I met this week and is lovely. You've got Jodie Comer, Tom Hardy, and it's actually based on a book of photos. Is that right?
Yeah, it's based off this 1968 photo book about this outlaw motorcycle group in Chicago. And you know, this movie takes some twists and turns. Also, Jodie Comer's accent in this is...
I've heard.
Yes, and it's stirring up. People are like, that's not real. But it actually, if you hear the real woman it's based on, it is dead on. Her accent, Jodie Comer, congrats. Like, we could see her getting an award nomination for this performance. I thought her performance was really, really spectacular.
Oh, that's good to know. She's already got an Emmy and a Tony, I think, so
she can do no wrong.
Almost to the EGOT. All right, so let's swap motorbikes for a mobility scooter for our next movie. Yes. A 93-year-old vigilante named Thelma. Is that it?
Yeah, so, you know, when you think of action heroes, you think of Tom Cruise, you think of The Rock, and now you think of June Squibb. And basically, this movie came about because the director's grandmother was scammed. And so he was like, well, what if my grandmother got back? And cut to, he makes this movie starring June Squibb, and she goes on a mission to get her $10,000 back. And she did her own stunts in the film.
What?
Yes, and she's 94 years young. June Squibb, you go on with your bad self.
Oh, my gosh, she's a national treasure, so
Yes.
I love that. All right, let's talk about the documentary that we've been talking about for a couple weeks now. It's the one about Celine Dion, capturing her journey over the last few years, her battle with stiff person syndrome. You've seen it. What were some of the biggest moments?
So
in your
it's
mind?
fun. I've been thinking about this movie. I saw the film on Monday, and now what day is it? It's Friday.
It is Friday. I know, it feels...
I can't honestly get it out of my head. It is the most kind of raw, compelling documentary we've seen about a star of that caliber. And, you know, I don't know if you watched Hoda's interview, but one of the things Hoda talked about was there is a scene where you actually see Celine, an episode where Celine has a seizure.
Okay.
And the camera does not go off of her. And it's probably one of the hardest things I've ever seen on screen to watch. And she has been through hell, but you know what? You root for her.
Yeah.
I hope she has the biggest comeback.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That she's sharing this with people too and being so open about it. It's pretty incredible.
Incredible. No makeup, and it's her raw, trying to get her voice back, trying to get her life back.
We can only hope that she does. I've interviewed her before. She's absolutely lovely too.
Yeah.
All right, this week we celebrated Juneteenth, and Netflix released a documentary about the history of the first black Barbie doll, which actually wasn't released until 1980.
I know, right?
We've been talking so much about Barbie over the last year. This is an important story.
Yeah, when I heard about this, I was shocked. It's produced by Shondaland. Shonda Rhimes is a huge Barbie fan. But the documentary is really about 3 black women that worked at Mattel that really spearheaded in getting black Barbie to the market in 1980. There's also interviews with Gabourey Sidibe, but it's really a documentary about race, about identity, and about feeling valued, and it's fascinating.
All right, let's talk about a new special from HBO. It's streaming on Max. The full title is Slave Play, Not a Movie, a Play. This goes behind the scenes and digs into this play that was produced on Broadway a few years ago. It was a big thing. It was a little controversial.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to see it. What should we know about this?
Yeah, so this was the second most nominated play in history, and this documentary is about the director going back and teaching new actors how to kind of be in the play. But of course, the play is very provocative. It did very well. I have not seen it yet, but I'm dying to see it, and I looked this up, and the play is about, and I quote, 3 interracial couples undergoing antebellum sexual performance therapy.
Got it.
So
I haven't seen it yet either.
Yeah.
It was kind of before I moved to New York, but I always heard so much talk about it. So a different way to check it out. All right.
Yes.
Andrew Freund, good to have you with us. Thanks for joining us and walking us through all these things that you need to watch this weekend. All of it. It's hot. Just stay indoors and watch everything. That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stick with us. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.